Good morning, first graders. Wednesday, April 8th, 2020, and we're getting ready to go into Chapter 8 of the Boxcar Children beginning. I want to start off with a happy Wednesday. Happy Wednesday. Happy Wednesday. I know you're getting excited because we are only one day away from our big spring break vacation that you and your families have certainly earned. So I need you to give me extra good listening today. We're going to be moving quickly as we roll into chapter 8. I want you to remember that Miss Thomas is helping with our videos, and she's helping getting everything connected so we can enjoy our videos each day on the carpet. Boxcar, and more boxcar. Just show me the boxcar. As we go into the continents, I want you to be thinking about measuring time, which is what we're working on in math. Today, as we start on the carpet, we're getting started at a different time. And there, that little clock piece just will not stay on like I want it to do. I know you're laughing. Time's a little bit different on the clock. Remember, this is an analog clock. This would be a good time for you to grab yours. We're going to practice that measuring time all through our lessons today. On the analog clock, I have my shorthand, which is red, points to the hour. My long hand, which is blue, points to the minutes. I notice as a mathematician, my shorthand is pointing between the 8 and the 9. That means it's after 8, not yet 9. So when my shorthand is between the 8 and the 9, my hour is going to be 8. And after that 8, I'm going to put my colon, which separates my hour and my minutes. I notice my long hand is pointing to the 4. It seems like it would be 8:04 or 8:04, but I know the long hand, when it points to the 4, doesn't give me the number of minutes. I have to go to get my minutes. I have to go to the 12, which is my starting point, and I have to count by 5s. So put your finger with me on the 12, and let's count by 5s to find out our minutes for our start time. Here we go, starting point. 5, 10, 15, 20. When the long hand is pointing to the 4, that means my number of minutes is going to be 20. So it is 8:20 a.m. A.m., remember, stands for antemeridium. 8:20 a.m. means 20 minutes after 8, 20 minutes past 8. And I'm remembering there are 60 minutes in an hour. And I forgot to write ST, which stands for my start time. When we finish this lesson, we'll come back and we'll change our time on the analog clock to show our ET, which is our end time. The continents, this is in your packet for this week. You may enjoy illustrating if you have time to go to the Illustrate Shared Reading Station. I need to hear you with me as we go through our poems and our songs today. Continents, do you know your continents? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. North America, South America, Europe, Africa, Asia. Don't forget Australia. Don't forget Antarctica. Continents, do you know your continents? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Arthur, do you know your continents unknown? In one of our chapters, we just read about Papa brought Henry a globe. This shows you what a globe looks like. It's a three-dimensional model of the earth. And that 3D model is called a sphere. And we know a sphere has 0 faces, 0 edges, 0 corners. Continents lyrics, I need to hear you reading with me, working on our fluency. Continents, continents. Do you know your continents? North, south, east, and west, all around the world. Asia, Africa, North and South America, Australia, Antarctica, and Europe too. Arthur unknown. As we think about our 7 continents, let's name those together. North America, South America, Europe, Africa, Asia, Australia, Antarctica. And the name of our continent is North America. Moving on to our country, the United States of America. Remember, a globe is a 3D model. A map is a flat model of an area. Our state in the United States of America is North Carolina, which is located here. And we've read for some time that the Clarks are headed to New Hampshire. And I just showed you that on the map. We know the Boxcar Children Beginning is the prequel for the Boxcar Children and the other books in the Boxcar Children series. The Boxcar Children was published in 1942, written by Gertrude Chandler Warner. Big part of the Boxcar Children first book takes place in a boxcar. The Boxcar Children Beginning is a prequel published in 2012. It's the book that comes before the first book in the Boxcar Children series. Moving right into our chapter for the Boxcar Children Beginning today, I'm going to do that sound clip.
Cow, cow.
Twice, and I'm going to try not to do too much talking. That's what Betty sounds like when she moves. That's probably what Joe sounds like when he barks. Moving right into a farm visit poem. I need to hear you reading with me. By the time we are in chapter 8, we started this with the beginning of the Boxcar book. My tongue got tied up in a knot. Sorry, boys and girls. We started this poem at the beginning of the Boxcar Children Beginning. So by now you're getting to the point that you probably know a lot of these words without really thinking about it. I should be on the smart board working on our fluency. A farm visit by Betty Franco. My class went to a farm one day. We touched the soft brown cow. We saw where all the milk came from. I understand it now. We stroked a chicken's feathers and we touched a muddy pig. Her hairs were like a bristly brush. Her eyes weren't very big. We watched the goats butt heads and put their hooves up on the wall. A little baby lamb was with her mama in a stall. We ate some carrots from the ground, a fresh and healthy snack. That farm was really neat. I hope my class and I go back. And as we read that poem together, we did hear some rhyming words. Moving right on to our summarizing hokey pokey. We started summarizing each chapter in the Boxcar Children Beginning when we started the book in chapter 1. When we summarize, we pick out the most important things that happen in the chapter. Summarizing hokey pokey, I need you reading, or you can actually at home, if you want to use more of a singing voice, that would be just great. You put the big ideas in, you take the extras out, you put the essentials in, and you cross the repeats out. You do some summarizing and write the paragraph now. That's what it's all about, summarizing. Now, yesterday we read chapter 7 of the Boxcar Children Beginning. So that's going to be our little review for today. As readers, when we're reading a chapter book on the carpet, you know, before I move into my chapter for the day, we typically do a review of the chapter we read the day before, same as if we were in reading groups. Title of chapter 7 was Betty Joins the Circus. We know Betty is the cow that loves to moo. we know the Clarks and the Aldens, the kids are planning to have a free circus. You made your prediction for chapter 7 yesterday before we read. Read with me the summary. Eyes on the smartboard. I need to hear you from home. The kids and the grown-up, left out that S again. I thought I went back in and fixed that. Thank you, Elijah, for telling me I had a little glitch on my smartboard. The kids and the grown-ups work together to make plans and get ready for the circus. AT7 from yesterday was the circus plans. AT7 would be another title for chapter 7. Remember, my titles give me clues about the main idea, and as a reader, my title or my subtitle helps me make good predictions. Now we're going to review our key ideas from chapter 7. These were the big things that happened in chapter 7. And notice today I included some parentheses. Parentheses is that punctuation that kind of looks like that. I included some parentheses. Oh, that's not spelled right. That looks better. I included parentheses for several of our characters. And inside the parentheses, I have given you a character trait. Remember, a character trait describes a character, not what they look like on the outside, not how they feel, but what kind of person they are on the inside. We determine character traits for a character in a book by watching the things they do and listening to the things they say. So I've included some character traits, and these are character traits that we've talked about as we've been reading on the carpet. Bullet 1, I need your eyes on the smartboard, reading with me. Bullet 1, the kids were busy preparing for the circus. Jessie made a list of things they would need. Character trait for Jessie, she's very, very organized. Next bullet, Benny asked to be an animal trainer. He showed everyone the tricks he had already taught Joe. And as he showed his tricks, he cracked a few jokes. Character trait for Benny, humorous. He always likes to tell a joke, and he likes to make other people laugh. Mama and Sarah baked for the circus party. Now for Mama and Sarah, I said they were cooperative. Cooperative is when characters work together. Mama and Sarah spend a lot of time working together baking. Remember, Mama bakes goods to take to the market to sell. Sarah has been helping. Violet sewed in the bedroom. Character trait for Violet, she's a fixer, she's a mender. She likes to fix things, she likes to sew, she likes to mend. Remember, she has her little sewing bag. Meg worked with Betty behind the barn. Meg is being a little sneaky sly because she works behind the barn. She doesn't want the other kids to see what she's working on. Henry practiced juggling. William helped Jessie with her list. Jake and Papa hammered shingles on the roof. And for Jake and Papa, I put a character trait for them to be hard working. Hard working means you work hard. So Jake and Papa showed they were hard working by hammering those shingles on the roof. And Reuben, the Alden's neighbor, promised he would come to the circus. He also said he was going to bring his wife Belle, and he said he was going to bring his grandchildren. Now we're going to zip right into chapter 8. And we're going to start, I scrolled a little bit too far. We're going to start with our T8. And our T8 is circus. Our P8 is when we as readers predict what we think's going to happen in chapter 8. And right now I want you at home to make a prediction and tell me what you think is going to happen in chapter 8. And I see Hot Potato Fred. I see the birthday bear waiting for me in my rocking chair as I go right into chapter 8. Oh, I have to find my glasses. Here they are, my granny glasses. If I don't have my glasses, I will need to do too much self-correcting. Self-correcting as readers is when we fix something that doesn't look right, sound right, or make sense. Chapter 8, Circus. I know you're going to be wide eyes, big ears, good listeners. Circus. Circus day at last. It was sunny and dry. No child was in sight, except for Violet. Her sewing was done. Sarah and Mama carried out kitchen chairs and lined them up for the audience. The audience is the group of people that watches when people are putting on a performance. Like when we did the Ugly Pumpkin play, your parents, your grandparents, your family members, they were the audience. They came to watch. Papa had brought balloons from town, and Violet tied them to chairs. If you go to a circus, you probably will see balloons. They floated like colorful clouds. Spencer, the balloons were like colorful clouds. I know you have your hand raised, and I know you want to tell me we're comparing the balloons to the clouds using the word like, and we know as readers that's a simile, which is a type of figurative language. I wonder where Jake is, said Sarah. Where's Jake, Mama asked Violet. He'll be along in a bit, said Violet with a smile. I think Violet's being a little sneaky sly. Secret, said Mama. And where are the others? In a bit, repeated Violet. And Joe, asked Sarah. Violet took a breath. In a bit, they all said together, laughing. They're keeping secrets. They're being secretive, sneaky, sly. They don't want to spoil. They want it to be a surprise. Reuben and Dale came with their own chairs and 2 grandchildren. Thomas and Elliot came riding their horse. 2 families from town came, waving the signs that had been tacked on fence posts. Remember, the Aldens and the Clarks made signs to let people know they were having the circus. And there were others, including a big friendly brown dog who sat quietly. Sarah and Mama served lemonade and cookies. Then everyone sat. Mama and Sarah serving lemonade and cookies. They're being cooperative, working together. A curtain had been strung from the maple tree to the barn. Suddenly it opened. Jessie and Meg scurried out of the way, making everyone laugh. When they scurried, that means they moved really quickly. And there was Henry, wearing a jacket with gold buttons and the black hat his father had worn on his wedding day. He had a small whip made from twisted leather. He snapped it. Now, when it talked about what Henry was wearing and what he looked like, that's a character description. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, he said loudly. Welcome, children. And dog, said Thomas in the audience. And dog, said Henry, grinning. The audience applauded. When you applaud, you clap. Elliot put his fingers to his lips and whistled. Jessie and Meg peeked out from the curtain. Welcome to our free circus, Jessie whispered loudly. The writer-director speaks, said Mama to Papa. The boss, said Papa with a smile. Welcome to our free circus, called Henry. Put your money away. You will see wondrous and amazing things here. Jugglers, dancers, acrobats, clowns, trained dogs, and the most stupendous surprise of all, an elephant. And a small surprise. The audience applauded and looked at one another in amazement. When they look in amazement, they can't believe what Henry just said. They can't believe all the things they're getting ready to see. An elephant, Mama said to Papa. Papa shook his head. Wait and see, Papa said. But first of all, we present Jacob and Jess, our clowns. Henry snapped his whip, the curtain opened again, and there was Jake with a yarn wig and a huge dress. Jessie was dressed in a suit. That gave a beautiful character description, describing how they were dressed, what they looked like, so as readers we could picture them in our minds, since there's not an illustration to show us. Where did that suit come from? Asked Mama. Your closet, said Violet. That's my marriage suit, said Papa. Sarah laughed at the sight of Jake doing a cartwheel, the dress hanging like curtains around him. Those are my old curtains, said Mama. Oof, said Jake as he clumsily landed his cartwheel. His yarn wig tilted and covered his face. The audience laughed and applauded. Jessie and Jake ran around after each other, then collided in the middle, falling down, their feet in the air. The audience laughed again. Jessie and Jake bowed. You bow after you do a performance, and fell over again. More laughter. Jessie and Jake blew kisses to everyone and left. I don't believe this, said Sarah with a smile. Character feeling, I think Sarah is shocked at what a performance the kids are putting on. Shocked would be a character feeling, and as readers we had to infer that was not stated in the text. Ladies and gentlemen, said Henry, snapping his whip. The amazing, the spectacular Princess Meg, riding bareback on her worthy steed. What steed? Asked Sarah. Out came, guess who? Betty. Colorful paper flowers around her neck. Remember, Betty's the cow. Meg dressed in filmy fabric, a gold paper crown on her head, waved at the audience, and the audience waved back at her. Yay, Betty, called Reuben, who had always loved Betty. Now, when it described what Betty looked like and what Meg looked like, that's a beautiful character description, describing how they look on the outside, so as readers we can picture them in our minds. Betty plodded slowly around the lawn, her wet black eyes bright in the sunlight. When a cow plods, it's a slow, heavy movement. All of a sudden, you're not going to believe this, Meg got to her knees on Betty's back. And then Meg stood up, her dresses, filmy fabric, flying out behind her as Betty began to run, then gallop. So Betty started with a plod, a slow, heavy. Then she began to run and then gallop. Gallop is a really fast run. And Meg is not sitting down. Meg is standing up on Betty's back. Meg held onto the rope with one hand and waved with the other. The audience howled and clapped. And that's a beautiful illustration of Meg as she is riding on Betty's back. I love that part. Meg jumped down from Betty and bowed. The paper flowers fell from Betty's neck, and of course, she began to eat them. A cow would eat the paper flowers. The audience laughed as Betty looked at them, flowers hanging out of her mouth. "And now for," said Jessie from behind the curtain. I know, and now for a great treat," said Henry. "The young trainer with Joseph." "Who's Joseph?" asked Mama. But before anyone could answer, out came, guess who? Benny, pulling his wagon with Jake's toolbox on top. Remember, the kids had told Jake they needed a box, so he let them use his toolbox. "Hi, Mama," he called, waving. The audience clapped. Benny stopped. "Bow," called Jessie. Benny grinned and he bowed. And then he opened the box and out jumped Joe. Remember, Joe's the dog. "Joseph," said Papa, laughing. Instead of calling him Joe in the circus, they called Joe Joseph. Papa thought that was funny. Joe ran around the box and the yard, and then Benny picked up a stick and held it out straight. He holds it out straight like that. "Jump," said Benny. You guessed it. Joe jumped over the stick. Cheering and applause. "I never knew Joe could do that," said Sarah. Benny picked up a circle hoop. A circle hoop would be kind of like what you might call a hula hoop. Hush, everyone, said Henry. "This is very difficult and needs complete silence." "Or a snack," said Papa. But everyone grew quiet. Benny held up the circle, which would be like a hula hoop. "Now, Joe," said Benny. Joe sat. "Now, Joe," repeated Benny. Joe looked. Henry put his hand in his pocket and took out some dog snacks. He handed them to Benny. Benny held them up, and Joe happily jumped through the hoop. Then when Benny turned, jumped again, and then again. He sat. Benny gave him a snack. Then Joe jumped through the last hoop and up onto the box. Text to self connection. If you're playing with your dog and you ask your dog to do a trick and your dog does the trick, you might give him a snack as a little treat. That's what Benny did. Benny bowed. Everyone clapped and whistled. And Benny rolled Joe out of the yard and behind the curtain. "And now," said Henry, snapping his whip, "for our final act." He looked quickly behind the curtain. "Wait just a minute," he added, "while we get the elephant and the small surprise ready." The audience was suddenly quiet. I'm inferring they're waiting to see what's going to happen. "Ready?" asked Henry. "Ready," came a voice from behind the curtain. "The master elephant trainer with a surprise," Henry announced proudly. The curtain opened and in came the elephant led by William. The elephant was Boots. Now we've heard a lot about Betty. Betty's the cow that likes to moo. Boots is the other cow. The elephant was Boots with a gray blanket and a stuffed elephant trunk. "My socks," said Papa. "I wondered where they were." Remember, we read earlier they needed an elephant trunk. One of the kids suggested, let's use Papa's socks. We said they were being resourceful. They didn't have a trunk, so they made one using what they had. And Papa sees the elephant and realizes the trunk is being made out of his socks. Elephant, cried one of Reuben's grandchildren. That's Boots, cried another child. Elephant, called the audience. And then the elephant was followed by a tiny, gray, blanketed creature. It was the small surprise. A baby elephant, cried a child. Who do you think the baby elephant is? It was Joe with a stuffed sock trunk. He walked behind Boots, his trunk bouncing in front of him while everyone clapped. And then it was over. They all came out to take their bows. Jaco and Jess, the clowns, Princess Meg with Betty, Benny with Joe in his wagon, and William, the elephant trainer. The group called for Violet, who came running to join them. They bowed in a row. Boots, as always, was sweet and silent. The audience applauded. This is the best day of my life, said William. Betty, guess what she did? Betty mooed. The friendly brown dog got up and went home. The circus was over. That's the end of chapter 8. And I want you to be thinking about how, as readers, we would summarize chapter 8, thinking about what chapter 8 was mostly about. I'm going to shift my iPad as we go into our summary of chapter 8. And it's going to be not too long today. Our summary of chapter 8. Now, if you were with me on the carpet, we would summarize together, but since you're not with me, you're going to read along at home as I read the summary from the smartboard. And you probably already guessed the big chunk of chapter 8 was all about the circus. So, summary for chapter 8. The families and the guests enjoyed watching the circus. They saw the clowns, acrobats, Meg riding Betty, Benny doing tricks with Joe, and the big elephant and the baby elephant. They watched, applauded, and enjoyed tasty treats. Those were the big things that happened in chapter 8. Now, another title for chapter 8 would be Circus Fun. Title Patricia McLaughlin gave chapter 8 was Circus. Another title my class came up with last year, because you're not here with me at school to do it today, is Circus Fun. And that ends chapter 8 for us. But before we stop our lesson and roll right into, if we were at school, it would be the time that we were going to roll into reading groups. I want to make what an estimate of our end time would be like. And so I'm going to move my clock, my analog clock hands. And that chapter was a little bit longer. So it took us a little bit longer today. Sometimes we have a chapter that's on the short side. That chapter was a little bit longer. Now, this is a really tricky time that I just made on the clock. If you just glance really quickly, you might want to say on my analog clock, I hope you're making this with me at home, even if you have to pause the video and go grab your clock if you don't have it right there with you. It would be really easy to say that the shorthand is on the 9, but it is not. The shorthand is a little bit before we get to the 9. If it was on the 9, it would be straight pointing right to the middle of that 9. So the shorthand is still between the 8 and the 9. If the shorthand is between the 8 and the 9, That means our hour for our end time is going to be 8. And then I'm going to put my colon to separate my hour from my minutes. Now, if the shorthand is almost on the 9, that means it's almost 9 o'clock. The closer the shorthand gets to 9 means the closer we're getting to 9 o'clock. The long blue hand is on the 11, and it seems like it would be 8:11, but we know as mathematicians that we don't look at the 11 and say 11. We have to go to our starting point, the 12. Put your finger with me and move with me. And once we get to the starting point, we have to count by 5s until we get to where the long hand stops. So here we go, starting point. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55. So my minutes for our end time are going to be 55. I'm going to put my AM for antemeridium. So my end time is 8:59, self-correct, 8:55 a.m. Our start time was 8:20, 20 minutes after 8, 20 minutes past 8. Our end time is 8:55, 55 minutes after 8, 55 minutes past 8. I owe you, because I know at home on my Happy Wednesday, I know you're being great listeners, so I owe you a good listening marble in my bucket. I owe you a quick 2 pops. Actually, we're going to do 8 for chapter 8. That was 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And if we were in class today, I would probably say you may have earned a quick throw around with the gator ball. Since we're not in class, maybe you can do a throw around with if you have a gator ball, you can do a throw around with your family at home. Now that's going to be a good stopping point for this lesson, a good time for you to take a little break before you get back to your other schoolwork. I hope you have a great rest of the day. Happy Wednesday. I'll be coming up a little later for a math lesson, but this is a good stopping point for today.